Good evening and welcome to Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television. My name is Ekpo Temple and it's that time again where we'll take you through the happenings over the weekend. A lot transpired, but we'll look at three key discussions this evening. First, Nigeria awaits the ruling of FIFA on the ineligibility of DR Congo's player in the World Cup playoffs. The verdict will determine who plays in the Intercontinental playoffs next month. So we'll talk about that big time on today's edition of the show. The Nigeria Premier Football League saw Enyimba Football Club and Remo Stars, swimming in the cocoon of relegation. We'll talk about that and we'll look at the dynamics of what is happening in these clubs and the Ikorodu City getting a waypoint at the International Stadium in Aba. How this will positively impact on the title race. Away from that, we will also delve deep into Favour Ashe in athletics. Favour Ashe has accused the Athletic Federation of Nigeria that because of lack of care and lack of respect on his personality, he has decided to switch allegiance. In fact, report has it that Favour Ashe has switched allegiance to Qatar. What is the reaction of the AFN in this regard? We'll talk about all of that and then we'll wrap it up with club football. A lot transpired, the FA Cup and the big time. Inter Milan are 8 points ahead in the Serie A. So that seems to be the bulk of the conversation, on today's edition of the show. I'm not going to do this alone. I have my guest in the studio. My guy is one of the sport guys, and of course, when I go on a short break and come back, you get to know him proper. Ekpo Temple is still my name, and I'm always delighted to bring this to you every Monday. All right, welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us at Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television and Network. Emmanuel Michael, the mic man as I call him, joins me as usual on the Monday edition of the show. It's the Monday edition of Sports Extra. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me this evening. Glad to be here indeed. Well, of course, it comes with a whole lot of mix of reaction and lots of anxiety per se because of the rulings that we await today as FIFA will be, giving their final verdict about the petition sent to them by the Nigerian Football Federation. And then again, worrisome situation coming from the world of Nigerian Athletic Federation, which we are also going to dive into proper. But in all of this, I think I'm happy to be here this evening.
Okay, quickly, let's start with the news of Favour Ashe, switching allegiance to Qatar. The follow-up story to that, that story emerged leaked on Saturday when some journalists, wrote that Favour Ashe has finally switched allegiance. But that story, the one I read, quoted by saying that he has been working, training in Qatar for 5 months now. And after the National Sports Festival, we haven't heard much again from him. He has been training just like others too have been training. Is that enough to switch allegiance when you know that you have a full year of activity? He has also alleged that a lot of activities happened, that the NFF did not stand for him. Is that enough? Is this enough reason? Or maybe the issue with Favour of Philly is really, trickling down to what some of these players are now holding on to, say they can easily switch allegiance, from Nigeria.
I think for me, more information and revelation will be further, be encapsulated when the time comes. Information regarding the real reason for Favour Ashe's switch of allegiance is still very sketchy, as it's becoming more like back and forth. It's either one person say different thing, the Athletic Federation come out to debunk, Favour Ashe comes to say one thing, and then key stakeholders, senior stakeholders per se, for that matter, also coming out to debunk. So it's more like a back and forth, and the information is still very, very sketchy. Maybe I'll just allow us to say, okay, let's wait in the next few days, we'll get the direction to which, or the reason probably why Favour Ashe actually switch allegiance. But then you and I know that it is no longer a big deal or hidden story that most time some of our athletes are not being properly catered for, and that has seen many of Nigerian athletes, switch allegiance. Is this not the first one? Is this not going to be second one or even the third one? So I think we'll just wait. In a matter of a few days, we'll get a clearer picture, because I was trying to, speak with a senior, stakeholder of the Athletic Federation of Nigeria just a few hours ago before we came on air. Although he said a whole lot of things which I wouldn't want to say right here until we dig proper and get a proper finding, and then also balance the opinions and counter opinion before we can speak on that publicly. But then one thing remains, that the welfare of Nigerian athletes, especially for the no-names in quote, I think most of them have complained bitterly. It's not starting from today, and it rages on. I'll just wait and see what the Athletic Federation is going to do this time around. We'll also wait to see their own version of this story.
We are going to see the true version of the story, but one thing very, very clear is that a lot of persons are not happy with the issues, surrounding players switching allegiance, from Nigeria. And I can tell you for sure that a lot of persons are still asking big questions in that regard. FIFA status, the status that guys athletics players movement or switching allegiance is very clear. You don't switch allegiance and still participate in, for the country. So if you are switching allegiance, he has to wait for 3 years or thereabout, 2 years to be eligible to to compete for that country. And from what he said he's hopeful. He is hopeful in quotes that he can pair the 4x100 team that will compete. So is this just one angle? So he's not even sure of the 100-meter race. He's sure of the 4x100. That means it's too fragile for me. It's not unlike Favour of Philly. The reason for Ashe is a little bit fragile. 4x100, just an event. Is that enough for you to switch an allegiance where you have enough chance to compete alongside sort of big name Enoch Adegoke and all that, for the 100-meter race here in Nigeria?
I think that may have been coupled with other personal reasons which probably he didn't want to disclose for now. More like taking it bit after bit, a pinch of the salt. Then when the situation gets heated, he might just bring out some of those core reasons, right now, because you don't expect him to, come out playing, to tabulate or list all of those personal reasons that are very personal to him, until maybe when the situation rages on, then we'll get to excum, of course, the ground, and see and how to bring out some of the skeleton out of his heart out there, because many reasons might just be contributory factor to favor Ashe's decision to switch allegiance, which is personal to him. But then, at a time, it will become public, because the rules is very clear. You must pass certain protocols. One or two things might certainly happen before you can switch allegiance. And then, the Athletic Federation also will have their own say. They will also bring their own fact as well. If it now corresponds or correlates with what you have stated, then the athletic governing body, that is the AIU, they can also look at it and find a striking balance between the two. But then one thing is certain, that there are so many information that you and I might not be privy to, all right, for now, until we hear from the horse's mouth, which is a Favor Ashe and the Athletic Federation of Nigeria. But the AFN President Tinubu Kokowa has come to debunk that he's yet to, his oblivious of the matter on ground. And that is to say, maybe Favor Ashe has not officially, written to the Athletic Federation of Nigeria to make it public. Does the rule say that he must write to them officially? Well, the rule says that there are certain things that must happen before. And of course, you must, as a matter of must, intimate the Athletic Federation to which you are representing the reason for your switch of allegiance. You cannot just wake up one day and just write to the World Athletic Federation to say, oh, I'm switching allegiance, either from country A to country B, without, of course, letting the federation aware of it. So for me, I think it will be more like Favor Ashe running afoul of the ground norm. 3 years waiting period. Sometimes this 3 years doesn't favor the athletes all the time. What would be of Favor Ashe if this matter did not pull through? Because, like you said, more will be unraveled in days to come, in weeks to come, in months to come. But sometimes, if that I feel it was very clear, because there were, even the blind man can hear about the circumstances, that trades that one. In Favor Ashe case, a lot of persons are still doubtful that this will go say through, because you don't just use one instant to prove, that something has happened. But like I said, maybe we'll keep our finger crossed on that particular one. The one thing that troubles me is our players, our athletes seems to be moving to the Gulf nation, Qatar. What are they doing strategically right that we aren't doing here? First off, you talk about the facilities, you talk about the welfare package, you talk about some other incentives, you talk about, long-term planning, and of course, a deliberate attempt to reward their athletes. These are some of the key reasons. For example, Qatar, you and I know that it's an oil-rich region. Of course, they are making a whole lot of money out of it, but then beyond the oil, they are also trying to use the money to also overhaul their sporting, infrastructure and give it a new face where they will become the hub of a sport. You know what, the Saudi are doing right now. The Saudi Pro League, nobody knows about that league before, but you can agree that just call it 3 years down the line right now, at least the Saudi Pro League sound more like a name that people have come to reckon with, and some of the top stars in the world, they are also moving there, not just for the monetary sake, but to also improve the level of the league. And you and I can agree that the Saudi Pro League is now trying to meet up with other top leagues in the world, because we have seen great players play there. We are still seeing some level of a developmental project still being, carried out there in Qatar. So basically, the difference why some of our athletes always choose that area is, first off, they know how to, maintain facilities. They have top-notch sporting facilities, and 2, they put the welfare of their sportsmen and women at the front burner.
put the welfare of sportsmen and women at the front burner. All right, let's move away from athletics now and let's talk something very important. Many will continue to click on your phones. Some are already staying glued to news around the world as the international, the Federation of the Football Governing Body, FIFA, have kept today apart for the ruling between Nigeria and DR Congo on the eligibility status of 6 players of the DR Congo team that played against the playoffs in November 2025, where Nigeria lost 4-3 on penalties. The World Cup Intercontinental Playoffs begins next month, and if that must come to pass, FIFA needs to have a clear say on what plays out in this particular. Mike, a lot of persons have seen a lot of rumored, that looks very real, but we're yet to hear officially from FIFA in this regard. But NFF General Secretary Dr. Mohamed Sanusi remained very confident, and I want to quote what he said. He said, "We have a good case. We do not venture into what would be an exercise in futility." Based on what you know about FIFA's eligibility laws, Michael, I don't want to quote sections of the articles. How strong do you think Nigeria case really is here?
Very, very strong and a very valid case here, which is one that it is very and will be very easy to be won by Nigeria here. First off, we're not talking about just one player. We're not talking about 2, but 3, 4, 5. We are talking about 6, 7, 8 to 9 players. First off, now, this is not the first time that we are hearing a case of such, that a player failed to follow the proper process of switching of allegiance. First off, the process of switching of allegiance, your country's law must as well tally with that process. Now, if, for example, you are a Nigerian, you did not become a Nigerian by birth, by naturalization, or by those 3 means which you can use to become a Nigerian. You didn't pass any of this process, but you went on to say, oh, just because you have stayed for more than 15 years right here in Nigeria, that you are in Nigeria without passing through the true process, will it work? It won't work. So the laws, the extant laws that governs DR, that is the Democratic Republic of Congo, the process to which some of these players pass to switch their allegiance, it does not tally with the laws of the Congolese. And by so doing, it runs afoul with that of FIFA. All right? That you just say, oh, I've switched allegiance to Congo and FIFA. You expect FIFA to just accept it without going through the books to balance, to see if actually it runs afoul. Because now, the FIFA is more like the supreme court here, for example. And you and I know that when a lower court of appellation, gives a verdict that is not in tandem with the Supreme Court, it will be declared null and void. Right? We call it ultra vires. It will be declared null and void because it is coming from a lower court. Now, FIFA being the highest arbiter of football governing body, they are going to look through their own microscope to actually check if the laws of Congo, was actually right. Did the players pass through those process of the Congolese law before, becoming a Congolese citizen? That is first, which of course most of the players didn't pass through. And they just went straight to say, oh, these players have switched allegiance, they are now Congolese player. It doesn't work out that way. So, for me, Nigeria have a very strong case. Now, for example, South Africa in a recent case that involved Tiboko Mokoena, who also, was fielded and he was ineligible. What happened to South Africa? 3 points was deducted. All right? Nigeria has also faced the same case in the past. All right? I can list my rate of countries that have also passed through this. One thing was certain. FIFA remains static. Their position never changed. The law still remains the law. If you run afoul of the law, you go for it. And for me, I don't expect FIFA at this point in time to start playing hanky-panky, because it will be to their own detriment. And the world is watching that what happens to Mr. A should also happen to Mr.
No,
B.
but in some of those instances you have quoted, it is basically based on decent, on-field activity. It is based on yellow cards. Like we have 8 cases where FIFA has reversed, and forfeited points from the winning side, Nigeria inclusive. The case of Shehu Abdullahi. Now, let's take a look at what the FIFA status says. FIFA status, quoted, and I want to read. It says a player can only represent the country if they already hold that nationality and is born of the country or born in the country, biological parents or grandparents born there, lived in the country for at least 5 years after turning 18. Traditionally, FIFA also amended the rules to allow that one-time switch can be done, provided you have played fewer senior competitive appearances. All those appearances came before under 21. That is, if you are not up to 21 years and you have been feeded by that country, you can start to switch allegiance from that country to another country. So if you look at some of these things, it looks as though it is going to be difficult because Nigeria's alleging that DR Congo's player did not meet up to the demands of this time. And if you look at it too, it looks as though, like you said, maybe Nigeria had a very strong case here because some of these players have not lived in the country. I do not remember Aaron Wan-Bissaka to mention. I knew when he started his registration last year. I knew when he was granted. But it is not dependent on FIFA to come out to say, yes, this player was granted prior to that time. But that was, I get to know about Wan-Bissaka's movement last year, and the World Cup was already on. So a lot of matters there about FIFA will have to dig deep. Like I said, it's not just 1, 2, or 3. It's 6 players who were feeded. That means they have a lot of work to be done. But away from that, some are also thinking that Nigeria is trying to, reap from where they did not sow. If Nigeria had won the playoffs, do you think Nigeria would have been contesting this?
Maybe yes, and maybe no. But then, now that the push has come to shove, the needful must be done. We talked about the fact that the on-field activities was the reason that why South Africa's was deducted and all of that. But we could also remember that even Equatorial Guinea, because of wrongful players' switch of allegiance, was also punished. All right, not an on-field issue. Talking about the case of Equatorial Guinea, So, and that is why I stated earlier that the FIFA rules is very clear. And that is why I repeat that what is good for the goose should also be equally good for the ganders. All right, if Mr. A, for example, Equatorial Guinea here being the Mr. A, that previously was faulted by FIFA, courtesy of a wrongful switch of players' allegiance. This time around, it is not based on the on-field activities. It's very clear that they wrongfully accepted a player switch of allegiance without passing through the proper process. And it is the same case with DR Congo. So what makes it different there? Whether on pitch or off pitch, the rules are the rules, and they must pay for it. Like I said, don't forget that if FIFA did not stay strong and stand their ground to maintain their integrity, then it will be more like rubbing mud in their face. Because the Nigerian Football Federation, if they are not satisfied or convinced with the verdict of FIFA, they might take the case higher to CAS. That is a court of arbitration for sports.
But it comes with sanction. If a matter is taken to CAS, if you are not content with the ruling of FIFA as a body, and you take the matter to CAS, and it's not in your favor, you stand sanction.
Then, be it, so long as the Nigerian Football Federation are aware that indeed they are standing on the right thing. I've just pointed a certain scenario. They can use that as Exhibit A to tender to the Court of Arbitration for Sport that this is the reason why we insist that this thing does not.
Nigeria has a strong affinity with FIFA.
Definitely.
Do you think they want to go that route if let's assume it's not in their favor?
Of course, yes. Nigeria, despite the fact that we share some sort of call it maybe great affinity with FIFA. Yeah. First off, we are among the 200 and something FIFA member nation. True. Now Nigeria, we have also hosted, produced, and even have some executive FIFA members presently. Not one, not two, not three. But then, when it has to do with the serious issue of the image of FIFA, you don't expect Nigeria, who is one or part of that FIFA member, to allow such shame to be felt FIFA, because they are part and parcel of the body. FIFA does not stand alone as an island. It's a conglomeration of bodies of FA that form the FIFA. All right. This is why I'm saying that even if FIFA said, okay, because of this, we are not going to toe that line, even though we know that what you are saying is right, and they want to maybe play hanky-panky, that Nigeria, they still have the chance to take the matter to court. I mean, to court of arbitration for sport, and it will not take anything from Nigeria.
Will you want to blame CAF in this matter? The fact that there were no stricter, pre-match eligibility checks, and because it looks like CAF has been silent and FIFA has taken up the nod, but it's CAF that coordinated this game because they are from Africa. These teams are from Africa. So how will you look at this? Because maybe, just maybe, CAF should have done enough.
CAF is a subordinate to FIFA.
Agree.
So you can't, even the case of South Africa, during the process of waiting for FIFA to give their verdict, some were also alluding.
But they do the check-ins, they do the checks, they work as a sub unit to FIFA.
Yeah.
To get this document and all that.
Definitely, and that is why being a subordinate, you don't expect them to release an express statement, even if they have done their own background check. They must file the case and report back to Supreme Head, which is FIFA. You don't expect them to issue a statement or a blanket statement. What if they issue that statement and FIFA comes, all right, with a different statement? Being a subordinate body to FIFA simply means that they are going to, not that they didn't do the fact check on their own, but you don't expect them to come out publicly to give a bold statement, while FIFA, the apex body, haven't authorized them or given them that right to make it. So you cannot, be blaming CAF at this point in time. Like I was saying, in South Africa's case, some were waiting for, CAF to also issue a bold statement regarding that, but then they kept mute, reticent and adamant until the last minute when FIFA actually gave their verdict. So for me, I think CAF at this point in time, they have not run afoul, and they need not to be blamed yet, because they are a subordinate body working under a superior authority, which is FIFA.
All right, we're going to short break now, but just so you know that FIFA do not strictly interfere when it comes to their reputational issues. The reason is simple. FIFA will do everything, but it doesn't matter if it's just one day to the playoffs. FIFA will give verdicts, and it doesn't matter the preparation of these nations involved, because FIFA's reputation, stands tall, and that judgment needs to be made. In the case of South Africa, they made a judgment that changed the narrative of the group. Nigeria had hopes till the last game of that playoffs because of FIFA's judgment. Ordinarily, that matter would have been closed. Maybe Nigeria wouldn't have been qualified, because of that FIFA's judgment, the morale changed, and we saw what transpired. This is just last year. A few years ago too, Nigeria had already qualified, yes, but that also made South Africa to go with the 3-point against Abdullahi, even if they qualified. Nigeria was supposed to have a clean slate, but that point was deducted from Nigeria. I think that game was against Algeria, and Algeria was awarded the 3-point and 3 goals. Burkina Faso in 2012 feeded Harvey Zengu, without proper documentation. FIFA ruled against them and forfeited the points, and qualifications were dented. Gabon, Charles Moussonu was ruled out based on ineligibility because he had prior represented Cameroon in beach soccer, before representing Gabon, and FIFA overturned the result of the qualifiers, and their hopes were damaged. Solomon Islands also in 2016 forfeited a suspended player. Match forfeited, fine was imposed. Ethiopia saying, despite bookings fielded, and many more nations. So FIFA would have taken that time before bringing out the statement that today the judgment will be made. However, it doesn't matter the GMT. One thing very certain is that Nigeria are glued to the news channels to get what FIFA will say in this regard. And I trust that by tomorrow when we come, we will address you with all of that and how that the judgment will change the dynamics of Nigerian football in the coming days. We're going to short break now. When we come back, more still awaits you on today's edition of Sports Extraordinary. Welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, it's still Sports Extraordinary. We are running faster so we can meet up. We saw some FA Cup games played in the English Premier League. But Mike, before we go into club football and wrap up the show this evening, the Nigerian Premier Football League, a lot of dynamics seems to be popping out. Yimba Football Club lost at home to Ikorodu City. Because of that, Ikorodu City are topping the Nigerian Premier Football League table. And then Remo Stars, these two teams, they've been struggling for obvious reasons. And many are asking what is truly going wrong with this side.
I think for Yimba, it's been a very disappointing season for them since last season, not just this season, but this is just a spillover of last season's disappointment, where you expect them at least to finish within the continent, but then quite disappointing. They could not make it to the continent. At this second stanza of the league, I expected them to at least, live up a little bit, up their ante by making sure at least they save their face from the, on-field and off-field problems that they've been facing through. But it seems unabated as the problem keep coming, right from administrative issues down to on-field challenge where players will go on strike demanding that their salaries and emolument entitlement be paid in full. So I think it's a myriad of a problem currently bedeviling Enyimba, one of the gracious and one of the doing of Nigerian club football, a record 9-time champion and twice CAF champions. This is the heavyweight of Nigerian club side, but then they seems not to be finding their footing. It's quite disappointing, quite terrible, and quite unacceptable for the fans of Enyimba because of the way and manner the team has been run in the last 3 years.
I talk about team being run in the last 3 years. I'm going to see how far it goes, but a lot is really shaping the Nigerian Premier Football League. Let's run faster now, and let's move now to club football in Europe, where 14 teams are through to the 5th round of the FA Cup, and courtesy of that, we are going to see a game tonight in the FA Cup. Arsenal, Fulham, Wrexham, Chelsea, Manchester City, West Ham United, Newcastle United, Southampton, they are all through. Not forgetting Mansfield Town, Norwich City, Liverpool, Leeds United, Wolverhampton Wanderers, and Sunderland. If you look at the mix, blend of these teams, it tells you that it looks as though one of the English Premier League, there's chance for an English Premier League to get at least to the finals of this one, because no matter the pairing that will be done after tonight's encounter, we'll get to see how far that turns out.
Definitely, we expect some of these top teams, to at least get to the final. I know that the FA Cup is one of the oldest in the country, and most times some teams that you relatively don't even know about them, maybe those that are playing within the Championship or Nationwide League, they just come, they see that as their own World Cup or Champions League, and whenever they get to come up against these top teams in the English Premier League, just a draw.
And what Salford did against Manchester City.
Exactly.
A lot of them were expecting, losses of goals, but he never came calling. Even Pep was angry.
Just like you saw how, a little unknown team also booted Manchester United out of this same competition. So, but now we still have some of the top guns. Arsenal still there, Chelsea, Manchester City, Newcastle United. These are top teams that are still there vying for honor. So it will be pretty difficult for some of these lower teams to compete against, these top guns.
And then, isn't it surprising that close about 18 more games to be played, or let's say, 18 more games to be played in the Serie A. We now see Inter Milan at, topping the league, the table now with 8 points. And when Inter tops with 8 points, they don't look like a team that might slow down like Arsenal.
Well, for Inter and their quest to dethrone Napoli from the league table, it rages on. But then don't also forget that they're still within the Champions League, and of course they will be get distracted because of the fact that they are still playing in other competition out there. But then in Italian Serie A, you can't say never, because we've seen change of powers in the last 5 years, unlike what we know earlier. Basically before, where you just see Juventus, running away with the league almost every season. In the last 5-6 years right now, you can see a little bit of that rivalry, competitiveness within these top teams. It's either AC Milan or Napoli, Juventus, Inter Milan. They are just, so I think it is not done and dusted. There are still many games to play. Even if it is, less than 18 games to go, I still think that Inter have not yet won the league yet. Just 8 points. You might just say 8 points is big, but then if you get to lose one game or draw one, that is when you know that 8 points is not that big.
All right, many thanks, Mike. But we'll keep our finger crossed on the verdict of FIFA tonight.
Definitely. And Nigerians, I know some of us, or many of you guys, we know how to pray a lot, but then it is just beyond prayer this time.
Even if FIFA feels that the evidence is presented is what they will give as presented.
Definitely, and they have to go through, the veracity of those evidences presented, because you cannot just give verdict without a careful.
They have done their due diligence.
They have done that, but they were just waiting for the right time. The intercontinental phase of the World Cup qualifier will soon, start, and they are very timely.
Yeah.
Because they say in justice, we say that justice delayed is justice denied, and justice rushed is justice crushed. So probably FIFA, they never wanted to rush into giving justice so that they will not crush the justice.
Okay, let's see how far it goes. But one thing certain is that Nigerians will own up to whatever decision that the International Federation of Football, FIFA, will come out with tomorrow. And that will form the bulk of conversation when we come back tomorrow evening. Until then, have a pleasant night rest, enjoy, and always remember that it's one game, football without violence. Many thanks to Mike for being part of the conversation with me here on the show this evening. Ekpo Temple is my name, and it's time to leave the studio. Arrivederci.